Hey chickadees and chickadudes. Today's tutorial is one that people have been begging for ever since I put up my original square bottom bag tutorial. Today's tutorial is a bag with a zipper. Yay! I'm going to use the same bag style as the original square bottom bag, but I'm not going to go quite as in detail when it comes to making a pattern for it and all that. So if you haven't watched the first bag tutorial and you're watching this one and get a little lost, you might want to go back and watch the original. So here's a quick rundown of our pattern pieces and dimensions and all that good stuff. And of course, you can change the dimensions of the bag to be whatever size you'd like. First, the main portion of the bag. We need 2 top trim pieces for the exterior and 2 for the lining. We also need 2 main bag pieces for the exterior and 2 for the lining. I like to use a contrasting fabric for the top trim, which really is only necessary on the exterior of the bag. You won't see the lining. You'll need 4 strap pieces. If you want the underside of the straps to be a contrasting fabric, you can do so. Otherwise, you can cut all 4 in the same fabric. It's up to you. For the main zipper at the top of the bag, you'll need a zipper in a length equal to or greater than the width of your bag. The bag I'm making is 14 inches wide, so I need a zipper that's at least 14 inches long. I'm also going to show how to add zipper pockets on the side of the bag, and this is totally optional. You can add up to 4 pockets to your bag, 2 on the outside and 2 on the inside, so you'll need as many pocket pieces and additional zippers as you want to add. I'm going to do 1 pocket on the inside and 1 on the outside, so I've got 2 of each. The other thing I'm going to show is how to add a little extra detail with D-rings on the straps. Again, this is optional, but if you want some extra flair, you'll need fabric for the D-ring loop strap and 4 D-rings. Step 1. I'm going to start with one of the zipper pockets. This is one of the main bag pieces for the exterior of my bag. Remember, you can add a zipper pocket to any of the main bag pieces, so if you want to add a pocket, grab one of those now. I want to mark a line 2 inches from the top of the bag all the way across. And then I've also marked the center of that line. Now I want to similarly mark the pocket on the wrong side of the fabric. Here's a close-up and step-by-step of that whole business. This here is the wrong side of our pocket, and I've gone ahead and marked a line 1.5 inches from the top. Next, I'm going to draw 2 more lines, one 1/4 inch above the first line and another 1/4 inch below the first line. Now I want to mark 1 inch in from the side of the pocket on both sides. From that line, I want 2 45-degree-ish lines to connect to our original middle line. And lastly, mark the center top of the pocket. Put the pocket and the bag right sides together, lining up that first middle line we drew on the pocket with the line we drew on the bag, and make sure the pocket is centered. And then we'll pin the pocket to the bag. The black stitches here show where you want to sew, and once you have that stitched up, get out your scissors. I like to use a smaller pair to get things started, and then I get out the big guns. Cut down the middle line just until you hit that little triangle on either side. Don't cut through it. Now we'll cut those little angles around the triangle. Get as close to the stitching as you can without cutting the stitches themselves. Again, these little teeny scissors sometimes do a better job than the big honkin' ones. Now we're going to take that pocket and turn it right side out and... oh my god. No. The pocket is eating itself. Cannibal! Right. So turn the pocket right side out like so. And get all those edges in there. And then it's back to the ironing board. Get it? Because there's the ironing board and the iron... never mind. Anyway, get everything ironed nice and flat on the front side. And then flip it over and do the same for the back. Especially focus on those little inside corners where the pocket fabric tends to get a little bit creased. Now it's zipper time. Get your bag situated over the zipper like so. Make sure the zipper pull is visible in the slit. Meow. You can pin the zipper if you prefer to do things that way, but I thought I'd show you a nifty no-pin zipper trick. All you need is a glue stick, a plain old elementary school style glue stick. Take the glue stick and then we butter up that zipper like a piece of bread. In case you're wondering, standard glue sticks are water soluble, so the glue will wash right out. With a bag like this, it wouldn't even really matter if it washed out or not, at least in my opinion. But on a piece of clothing or something where you might not want glue residue, it's a handy trick to know. Meow that we've got the zipper all buttered up, you get it situated under the bag and press the 2 together. You might notice the zipper is now in the opposite direction it was when I first showed you how to line it up with the bag. It matters not, my friend. unless you're picky about that kind of thing. Give the glue 10 minutes or so to dry, and then it's ready to sew. Top stitch all the way around the zipper, making sure you don't stitch over the teeth and break a needle. And then if your zipper is long like mine, you'll want to trim it so that you have about 1/2 inch from the edge of the pocket. We're almost finished with the pocket. Woohoo! Okay, so now we're going to fold the bottom of the pocket up to meet the top edge, right sides together. And then we're going to pin all the way around the pocket. Note that I've only pinned through the pocket layers. Don't pin it to the main bag. Now sew around the 3 raw edge sides of the pocket with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, which should keep you from sewing over any zipper teeth and breaking a needle. Remember to sew just through the pocket layers. The trick to that is to sort of fold the bag fabric out of your way while you sew. And then you can turn it around and admire your handy dandy zipper pocket. I bet you want to run out and add zipper pockets to everything now, don't you? On to the next optional step, the D-ring strap detail. Take the D-ring strap fabric and fold it in half, wrong sides together. I marked my fabric with chalk to hopefully make it less confusing. Iron the folds, you get a nice crisp line down the center. Then open it back up and fold the edge so it meets that center line. Do that with both edges and press. Now that we have both edges folded and pressed so they meet in the center, we fold the whole enchilada up, concealing those raw edges, and press again. Then we pin and top stitch along that edge to close it up. And I actually like to top stitch the other edge too, so it looks symmetrical. I want to divide this into 4 pieces, so I'll start by folding it in half and cutting it. And then I'll fold each of those pieces in half and cut again, so now I have 4 roughly equal strips of strap. Say that 3 times fast. Strips of strap, strips of strap, strips of strap. This edition of Sewing Tongue Twisters is brought to you by whatthecraft.com. Now take your wee straps and fold them around your 4 D-rings. Pin like so. You'll want to stitch each strap together at the raw edge and also at the edge of the D-ring. When you're stitching close to the D-ring, a zipper foot can come in handy. Now it's time to figure out where you want your straps. I like to fold the gussets in to get a better idea of what the bag will look like once it's put together. And I've decided to place my straps 3 inches from either edge, so I've marked that on both sides and pinned the D-ring straps like so. Repeat for both the exterior bag pieces. If you're skipping the D-ring strap detail and you're just going to go with regular straps, go ahead and pin them in place now. Baste the straps on each bag piece using about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And then it's time to attach the top trim. Line up the top trim and the main bag piece and pin right sides together. You'll want to repeat this for both exterior bag pieces, but not the lining. We'll get to that in a little bit. Now it's time to sew. Stitch with a 1/2 inch seam allowance or seam allowance of your choice. Fire up your iron because we're going to press the seam towards the main bag fabric. We want the D-ring strap to point towards the top of the bag, and make sure you press both exterior bag pieces. Now you can set all that business aside and we'll move on to the lining. Here's one of the main bag lining pieces and one of the top trim lining pieces. And you can't see it, but I've marked the wrong side of the top trim, so this is the right side that we're looking at. Line up the main zipper with the bottom of the top trim piece, right sides together, and then pin or use ye old glue stick. Remember to let the glue stick dry and then sew the zipper to the top trim piece. And if your zipper is of the too long variety, trim it up now. Now we want to take that whole top trim zipper monstrosity and lay it right sides together with the main bag lining. It's like a zipper sandwich. Then we pin. Sew the sandwich together, and remember there's a zipper in the middle, so you'll still want your zipper foot and a zipper appropriate seam allowance. Alright, now grab the edge of the zipper that isn't sewn to anything and sort of fold all the other layers away. I'm going to pin the top trim down to keep it out of the way during the next step. This is just temporary though. Grab the other main bag lining and top trim lining and get them situated. We're going to repeat the same steps we did before. So first we'll line up the right side of the zipper to the right side of the top trim. And then it's pin or glue stick time. Sew the zipper to the top trim using a zipper foot. And then it's time to make another zipper sandwich. line up the right side of the top trim with the right side of the main bag lining with the zipper sandwiched between, pin or glue stick, and then sew. Open up both sides like so, and I like to top stitch right along both edges of the zipper at this point. The other thing that I find helpful is to stitch the open ends of the zipper tape together. Now we can take out those temporary pins, and it's really important to remember to unzip the zipper at least part of the way at this point. It's time to sew the lining to the exterior, so figure out which is the front and which is the back of each if you have a preference. Start by pinning the top trim of the main bag to the top trim of the lining, right sides together. Once you've got it all pinned on that top edge, head over to the sewing machine and stitch the 2 layers together with the 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now we'll repeat for the other side, so get everything flipped around so that you've got just this flap of top trim all by itself. And then we will, you guessed it, pin to the right side of the remaining exterior bag piece. Sew it all together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and what do you got? A half assembled bag. Now we want to resituate all these flappy doos. Lay it so you've got both exterior pieces facing each other, right sides together on one end, and the lining pieces right sides together on the other end. Time to start pinning. I'm going to start by pinning and sewing the bottom of the main bag and then the bottom of the lining. Sew both seams with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now we'll focus on the side seams of the bag. Take a little bit of time to make sure these seams between the main bag and the top trim are lined up, at least on the exterior of the bag. The lining doesn't matter so much. You might want to mark where the zipper is with a special pin at this point, because when we sew this side seam together, we don't want to sew over the zipper. What you're going to do is sew from the bottom edge of one side of the bag just until you're about to touch the zipper with the needle. Stop sewing and backstitch. Do the same thing from the other end. Sew up from the bottom, backstitching just before you get to the zipper. Repeat for the other side of the bag. So we have both sides and both bottoms sewn up. Now it's time for the gussets. Open the gusset, match up the seams, pin, and sew. The trick here is to leave one of the lining gussets open so we can use it to turn the bag right sides out. So remember to only sew 3 of the gussets closed. So here are the 3 gussets all sewn up. And now it's time for that magic moment. Wheedle your way in through the gusset we left open in the lining and find the zipper. Remember we left it partly unzipped? Sneak your way past the zipper into the main bag and grab a hold of the other side. Then we gently work the bag through the gusset hole until the whole thing is right sides out. Remember, don't force anything, go slow. Slow and steady wins the race. Once everything's turned right sides out, do a little happy dance. And then grab that open gusset, turn the edges in about 1/2 inch. You can press if you want, I usually don't. And top stitch closed. Now, if you're of the anal persuasion, you could hand stitch it closed. But remember that this is the lining and no one's gonna see it. And even if they did see it, if you use thread that matches the fabric, they'd have to really be looking to see it. And if they were really looking, they probably wouldn't care. But hey, whatever floats your anal retentive boat. Ah, can you smell that? We're getting close. Stuff the lining into the main bag and then find the top seam where the main bag and the lining are sewn together. Again, you can press this first if you want, but I find that smushing it with my hands does the trick. Then I'm going to pin all the way around so I can top stitch this edge. Check out that handy dandy zipper. Okay. Last step, the straps. Pin a front strap piece to a back strap piece, right sides together, and pin. Did I already say that? Yeah. Anyway, we're going to pin around both long edges and one short edge, but we'll leave the other short end open. So where you pinned, remembering to leave one of those short ends open. I used a 1/2 inch seam allowance, just like the rest of the bag. And now I'm going to trim the seam allowances. If you don't have pinking shears, which leaves that zigzag edge, regular fabric scissors are just fine. Now we turn the straps right sides out, and sewing that one end closed makes this a lot easier. I like to use something long and pointy like a chopstick for this. When you got them turned out, you can snip off the closed end, and then it's time to press these bad lads. Get that iron nice and hot and show those straps who's boss. Once you've smushed the life out of them, you can top stitch both edges to keep them from going wonky down the road. Take each strap end and turn it in about 1/4 of an inch. Pin all 4 ends like that and top stitch. Now when we pin the straps around the D-rings, the raw edges will be nice and hidden. Pin all the strap ends to the D-rings and stitch. As I mentioned before, this is a handy spot to use a zipper foot. Voila! Zip top bag complete. For more tips, tricks, and tutorials, plus kick-ass sewing patterns, visit whatthecraft.com. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more bodacious and tubular video tutorials.